Bright Duty. Every student matters.
Hello students, now let's solve questions so that we can have a better understanding of what we have learned so far. Now we are discussing the exercise portion for the second portion of this chapter. Let's begin with the first question, which is an in-text question. The question is, why do HCl and HNO3 etc. show acidic nature in aqueous solutions while solutions of compounds like alcohol and glucose do not show acidic nature? Now we know that organic compounds are bonded by covalent bond. You might not have studied the chapter carbon right now, but whenever you do, you'll understand that these things are bonded by covalent bond, whereas compounds like H and Cl, HNO3, Na or Cl are bonded by ionic bonds. So HCl, HNO3 form hydronium ions in aqueous solutions, while alcohol and glucose do not dissociate to form hydronium ions. Because of its covalent bond, it does not show any polarity, so it does not dissociate to form ions. Basically, for now you can understand with this fact that HCl and HNO3 have the property of dissociating to form ions again, whereas alcohol and glucose do not dissociate to form ions, which are the core characteristic, which are the basis on which we know if a thing is acidic or not. Why does an aqueous solution of acid conduct electricity? So acid in its aqueous solution conducts electricity because when dissolved in water, it forms ions. These ions in turn conduct electricity. For conduction of electricity, we need charged particles, and the ions are given by acid, which is dissociating to form hydronium ion and another negative ion. Why does dry HCl gas not change the color of the dry litmus paper? So for this, say we have a dry litmus paper, which is a blue litmus paper, and we pour a drop of acid on it. It will not show any reaction. Dry would be gas, if so we pass some gas through it, and it is not changing its color. Now, why does this happen? Because litmus paper, like all other indicators, detects the presence of H plus ion. Now, the H plus ion is not present in this dry gas. Because of it, it cannot break. So if there is no water as a medium for something to dissociate, if there's no medium for acid to dissociate to form H plus, or also called as H3O plus ions, hydronium ions, if it can't make those ions, then it will not be detected by the litmus paper, because that is how a litmus paper knows that acid is present or not. So dry HCl does not change the color of litmus paper because dry gas does not form H3O plus because of absence of water, which is the mean of detection by litmus paper. While diluting an acid, why is it recommended that acid should be added to water and not water to acid? Now, this is a very frequently asked question and something that people often get tricked with. So, if we have to dilute an acid, we're supposed to add we are supposed to take water and then we're supposed to add acid drop by drop and not the other way around. The reason for that is simply evolution of heat. When acid is mixed with water, heat is being evolved. The reaction taking place thus is exothermic in nature. Exothermic just means heat is being evolved. If water is mixed with acid, then because of the presence of large amount of acid, more heat would be evolved, right? You understand that if you reverse the reaction, then there's a bigger heat being evolved, which can lead to a very risky situation where the beaker could break, or it could lead to heat harming the person doing the reaction, and that is why we do the reaction in reverse, which may splash out, can result in accidents due to burning. Therefore, it is recommended that acid should be added to water and not water to acid. How is the concentration of hydronium ions affected when a solution of acid is diluted? The concentration of hydronium ion would decrease when it is diluted, because when we add more water, the proportion of ions in the water would reduce. How is the concentration of hydroxide ions affected when excess base is dissolved? So when you add more base, then there are more ions and the concentration would increase. The concentration of ions would increase when excess solution is added because the percentage of ions would increase. And the next question is it can be explained with a little activity. So describe compounds such as alcohols and glucose also contain hydrogen but are not categorized as acids, describe with an activity to prove it. So, so to do this activity, we have this setup. We have a cork, we have two nails attached to it, we have a medium, and we have a 6-volt battery attached to it. So there are two nails, there's a wooden rubber cork, there's a 6-volt battery, there are iron nails, and there's a switch connecting to a wire. Now the medium here, we can change it. So it can be dilute HCl or it can also be alcohol for this experiment. So first you take alcohol and you pour this solution, and you understand that that when you pour alcohol, the bulb will not glow. So the reaction, so the complete circuit is not completed. If there were hydrogen ions or hydronium ions, if H plus or H3O plus were being formed in this reaction, then the ions would conduct electricity. So we know that they do not have these ions, which means they do not show acidic nature. But instead, when we pour HCl or H2SO4 in this, we know that we will see that the bulb will go on, which shows that acids conduct electricity because they have these ions present in them. So based on this activity, we can detect the presence of H plus or H3O plus ions called as hydronium ions, and the absence would indicate that they do not show acidic nature, which is in fact not shown by alcohol and glucose. Why does distilled water not conduct electricity whereas rainwater does? Now, what is the difference between distilled water and rainwater? Rainwater has a lot of substances dissolved in it. It has salts and acids dissolved in it. Whereas distilled water is pure H2O. It does not have any other compound mixed in it. So rainwater contains many substances, many impurities, which produce hydronium ions, while distilled water does not contain any of these substances which would form hydronium ions, and because of which it cannot conduct electricity, because H2O on its own does not conduct electricity. It only conducts when ions are being present, like H plus ions or Cl minus ions or different kinds of ions. So those ions are present in rainwater, and that is why it can conduct electricity. Why do acids not show acidic behavior in the absence of water? So the acidic behavior, as we have established in this exercise, is judged by the presence of H3O plus ions or hydronium or H plus ions. These are the same thing. So this ion would only be formed in the presence of water, which would dissociate HCl or H with SO4 and form these ions. This dissociation takes place in the presence of water, and that is why in the absence of water this would not show. It's a similar question to the question of dry HCl gas and a litmus paper. So that's all for this part.